welcome to this. And I said if something major happened on one of the two shows, I would come out and I would do a video about it. Well, one major thing did happen, but overall I did want to do a video because it was a fun night, and I have to thank TNA for that. Yes, I am thanking TNA. See, I actually do want to like TNA. And I will say this, I thought once the show started going head-to-head, I thought TNA, I watched more, I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't say it like that. I should say it like this. I watched more of TNA than I did WWE. But I think the home run segments, or the big segments, for both companies, I think WWE blew TNA out of the water. But, of course, the big announcement was during the first hour, we saw Jeff Hardy come out and cut and re-debut in TNA, show up on the live impact. Good for TNA. They signed probably the number 3 draw in all of wrestling last year, you could argue. So that's a pretty good deal. The bad part? Well, the debut kind of sucked. I'm not going to lie. He didn't cut a promo. He just walked out, climbed up on the steel cage. This was after the fans had pretty much shit on the Steel Cage Asylum match because we had a no DQ thing. I don't know if they purposely did that for later in the show. I don't know. That was strange to me, but came off really crappy. But there was that. Then the other big thing that happened in the first hour was Ric Flair showed up, didn't cut a promo, just was walking, showed up, went and talked to AJ. And that was pretty much the first hour. The first hour, in my opinion, was shit. We got a strip poker segment. We got just not good stuff, in my opinion. And then to the point where I was like, will Raw pretty much hurry up and get here? Then we got Raw. And Raw opened up amazing with this nice little tribute to Bret Hart. Bret Hart came out. He cut a nice little promo. He then called out Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels and him had a nice little back and forth, kind of telling their sides of both of the story. And then when it was all said and done, they shook hands. It looked like Shawn might actually super kick Bret. The visuals were all there, but they ended up hugging, going away. Pretty awesome stuff. Meanwhile, on Nitro, we had Hogan make his debut, which ended up being like the reform. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. So anyone that actually was paying attention can probably tell me. But it seemed like, from what I was hearing and what I was watching, that, because I did have both shows on at the same time, one on the computer, one on here, one on my TV, and that was, Hogan came out, was saying, they were going to change everything, they were going to do all these great and wondrous things. Then Hall and Sean Waltman showed up. That brought out, then Eric Bischoff came out, then Eric Bischoff came out, Eric Bischoff came out, then Kevin Nash came out, and somehow this all ended up them reforming the NWO to some extent. Sting was in the rafters. This was like, wow, 10 years ago. So there was that. We had, in the production. I should talk about the production, because I didn't even notice that the production was actually good. It wasn't hard for me to watch Impact, which is usually, so I don't know if they put someone else new in the production truck, if Hogan and Bischoff told them to, go out there and actually try to put on a good produced show, all of that. We had backstage segments with Mick Foley that was one of the main themes of the show. Mick Foley trying to get into the Impact Zone, couldn't. The Nasty Boys trying to get, the Nasty Boys. The Nasty Boys were on this show longer than Beer Money. Beer Money was shown once, and that was them laid out in the back by some mystery assailant. And, that was it. That's all we saw of Beer Money. Maybe one of your best acts, maybe one of the acts that seems to get over the easiest. I know of very few people that don't like Beer Money, and you don't even put them on your TV show for this. That kind of troubled me. On top of that, you had the Nasty Boys not only on TV more, you are pushing them for a feud with the freaking Dudleys, with 3D. Give me a fucking break, please. Yes, thank you. You heard me right. But anyways, we saw a match with the Pope versus Desmond Wolfe I was looking forward to, except it only went about 5 minutes. I don't know if that was a fact that, Wolfe is kind of, Nigel was kind of a hand-picked guy by Vince Russo, and maybe they don't believe in him, so he, laid down in like a 5-minute match to the Pope. Not that that's a bad thing, but I mean, it was good. It needed to go like another, 30 minutes would have been nice. But the Pope went out. He cut a promo. Orlando Jordan showed up, I think, at that point. Let's see, we had a really good Knockouts tag team match, except that the commercials kind of ruined that. TNA was trying to, if you didn't see the show, TNA was trying to run commercials at the same time that Raw had things on, and then showing stuff when Raw didn't, so you had all that kind of going on. We had, let's see, what major things did we have that happened? That was pretty much it. We had more of Ric Flair. Ric Flair showed up during the main event, which was for AJ versus Kurt Angle, the pay-per-view main event, which will not be the pay-per-view main event anymore. We had a run-in, which did not stop the match. The mystery guy came in, and they just stopped, and Angle said, okay, let's keep going, so they kept going. Ric Flair came out, watched part of the match. After the match, it's a great match, by the way, awesome match. But while this was going on, Raw had Kofi and Orton on, and that was fairly, uninteresting, because you knew Orton was going over, and they pretty much lost all faith in Kofi at this point, so, why watch? So you had that. Hogan came out, was cutting a pretty good promo. Then it was announced, I guess, that Mick Foley was there, so Hogan went running into the back. Mick Foley finally found Eric Bischoff. Bischoff said he had, Foley had no power now, this, that, and the other. Then was attacked by Waltman, I think Nash, Hall. Hogan was standing around. That was the end of Impact, a very lame end to Impact. Unlike Raw. Raw's Impact, Vince McMahon came out. That was kind of the story they were pulling up the entire night, was Vince McMahon came out. Raw did have one really good match, and that was Big Show and Jericho taking on DX. That was a pretty good television match, even though, Jericho took the pin from Triple H. Oh well, should be used to it by now. You had all of that happen. But it came out, Vince did this great job of putting Brett over. They were celebrating in the middle of the ring, and then he kicked him in the balls, and that's how Raw ended, which is going to lead to, I guess, some sort of angle at WrestleMania. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. So as far as wanting to turn in next week, I would say Raw did a better job. I think TNA, though, particularly for the head-to-head, I think Impact did a much better job. I thought Impact was the better show head-to-head. That first hour was shit, though. However, I don't think there was anything on Impact that really made me want to turn in to watch next week. Keep in mind, next week. Now, if I was TNA, hopefully there's enough buzz, hopefully there's enough goodwill on the internet tonight to where they decide, hey, let's go ahead and keep everybody a day, keep everybody here a day extra maybe, or do 2 tapings tomorrow because, we really need to put on a show, a fresh show this Thursday and not wait till next Thursday to continue everything. I think that would be a huge mistake by TNA, because I do think they caused a lot of goodwill. Like I said, I thought the show, particularly the head-to-head hours, were better than Raw. I thought they put on a better show. I don't know if they put on anything that's going to keep people around, but I definitely think they definitely put on more of the show I think we, as wrestlers, have wanted them to put on. Not that there wasn't stupid stuff, not that there wasn't stuff I didn't want to see, not like that, not that it was a perfect show, but I definitely think it was more than worthy to go up against Raw on a normal basis. Raw with Bret Hart, I don't know about that, because the Bret Hart stuff was really good. The DX stuff was pretty good. There was a couple other things going on Raw that I saw, but for the most part, I would say that I watched more of Impact, so I think that says something. Now, as far as what the ratings are going to be, who fucking knows? I don't know. I would still be shocked if Impact does over, higher than it normally does. Maybe it will. Maybe they did a good enough job of keeping people staying around. Maybe they put on the types of stuff that more people want to see. I don't know. Like I said, I do think it was a their show was, to me, was just fun to watch. Raw was a lot of the same things, but I don't think Raw felt like they needed to put on anything special other than the Bret Hart stuff, which it seems like they had kind of planned out anyway. So there was all of that. But I will say this: thank you, TNA. You did make for one fun night. I will say that, and we'll have to wait and see how everything plays out. But they did get Jeff Hardy. We'll have to see how that plays out as well, I guess. I guess that's the one thing that you might turn in to see. But like I said, I think they just botched that whole intro. So, it is what it is. So, there it is. And I will say this. There will probably be all sorts of rating numbers until a legit site actually announces the ratings. Don't believe what you read. Wait till at least a couple places, announce it, or a site you actually trust announces it before you believe the ratings. Just saying. So because who knows what they're going to be? You had a pretty good football game on in the Fiesta Bowl. So and maybe Impact will surprise us. I will say I think that the head-to-head hours, I think Impact was better. Overall, I think it was the better overall show, but I think Raw definitely on the big angles, I definitely think just kicked the crap out of Impact. So there's that. So I've rambled on long enough. With that, I'm out. Have a good one.